Hi, everybody. It's Mr. Gray here. Thank you again for another fantastic week of school. I hope everyone had a really great Thanksgiving break. We're only 2 weeks away from winter break, and so we're going to try to make the most of that time. And then, of course, we'll be off for 2 weeks and back in January. So a few announcements to get us started today. First, our school is working with South County Outreach to do a food drive, and that's happening from December 10th through December 16th. So it's next Wednesday, through the week after that. And so if you want to see more information, it's linked on the email and on the updates page. And of course, I think the school probably sent out some information as well. And I think a flyer will come home on the Thursday folder, came home on the Thursday folder. The other announcement I have is on Thursday, December 18th. Our room parents are helping organize a lunch for us. I think we're gonna do pizza and some other snacks. We're gonna watch a movie that day as kind of a celebration of being almost halfway through the school year. And we're doing it on Thursday and not Friday because on Friday there's just a couple other things going on, so we don't have time to watch a movie or do something like that. We don't have quite time to celebrate, so we're doing it on Thursday, December 18th. So you do not have to send food to school. If pizza works for your student, then that's great. They can have pizza that day, and it'll be a fun time and a little bit of a celebration. We made it through, halfway through the year, and so it's a fun time to take a minute and celebrate. We're probably going to watch Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which is a great movie. Something fun just to enjoy the day together. And so that's that for that day. And then finally, the winter music concert will be Monday, January 12th at 9 a.m. That's not till we come back from school, but still you can put it on your calendar if you're thinking about it. For reading next week, we're taking this time to really just focus on informational text. We're focusing on different kinds of articles. This last week, we were working on finding main ideas and supporting details. And then next week, we're going to talk about informational texts that are maybe a little bit more technical, and look at the structures that technical texts use, and as well as the relationships that are established between ideas or between people in text like that. We're reading out loud The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Katie Camillo. In writing, the kids, we took a little bit of time to do quite a formal opinion and argument piece of writing with a topic that everyone did. And so that will be finished by the time you see this, but we want next week to give them a little more freedom to pick a topic of their choosing. It will be a topic that they have to have knowledge about, enough that they don't have to do research on the computer. They have to be able to talk about it in their own words, and make their own words and ideas really come out through the text. In math, we're focused on fractions right now. We're shifting. Lots of addition, subtraction, multiplication is review. A new thing for some of the students in the class is going to be division with fractions. It is not as intuitive as addition, subtraction, and multiplication. All that is pretty intuitive, and dividing fractions is not only not exactly intuitive, but it's very difficult to kind of understand what is happening behind the scenes. Some students will be able to do the steps of how to divide fractions, but have no idea what is happening. So we're going to go over both of those things, what is actually happening behind the scenes to get a better understanding, and of course, trying to be able to solve problems involving division with fractions. We'll also probably take a quiz by the end of the week, having to do with multiplying and dividing fractions. I forgot to mention, in reading, there's probably a quiz about main idea and supporting details. The quiz times next week are up in the air. You'll hear from me that there's 3 different ones, and so that doesn't always happen depending on how if they all end up stacking up really close together, then one or more will get pushed off. In social studies, we are looking at how European countries settled in North America. So this last week, we talked about how the French and English and even the Dutch settled, and previous to that, we talked about how Spain was settling in the New World. And so next week, we're going to review kind of what was similar about what they did and what was different about what each country did. And they'll take some kind of quiz or little project to put that together. And then in science, kids will learn about what causes substances to change. And of course, they'll have science lab on Mrs. DeMarco. And then we've been doing a Greek and Latin root word study. And so we're supposed to have a review and quiz next week. But like I said, so some quizzes are stacking up. So all that is subject to change, but you might hear about some of those happening next week. It's not quite finalized. Other than that, we'll be meeting with our second grade buddies next week. And we'll play board games on Friday with Mrs. Kovac's class. We might learn a new game a new card game that I was introducing to the kids called Tens, which is a really fun, kind of fast-paced game that you can do in a group. The other thing I just wanted to talk about was I'm trying to make a few changes in class going into the new year, and so you might hear about that. We're kind of transitioning a little bit at this point, but more and more I'm convinced that like reducing the amount of screen time in class is probably a good thing. And by screen time, I mean when they are working on computers. They don't get unfettered screen time. We're not playing games or anything like that, but trying to do a little bit more, like changing the percentage of times that are like hands-on physical projects versus a screen time projects, I think is probably a pretty healthy move at this point. So much of the time kids spend on Chromebooks, it just ends up being extra screen time for them. So you might hear about that. The kids might kind of be thinking about that. I've been talking about that a little bit in class. And it's more of an experiment than anything else. I think there'll be lots of positive things that come out of it, but it's always a task for teachers to try to figure out what is best served for the kids to make on the computer, because they have lots of creativity tools, versus what is best served to make by hand. So we're trying different things. So for instance, the kids have a chit chat speech coming up next week and the week after. And rather than making PowerPoint slides or Google slides or Canva slides that support their speech, they have to make them by hand. They have to either draw them or construct something together and put it under our like document camera. And so that's different. The specific reason about that one is everybody made slides. The first one, the kids have made slides, so that's not really something that we need to like keep practicing. Doesn't mean we won't practice it again, but everyone was able to show that they can do that, so we're kind of moving on to a different style to try something different. So that will cause some consternation, certainly, but I think it's a great challenge, and to have the kids have some new ways of doing things that they maybe haven't done before, to think about something in a different way, I think is really positive. So I'm certainly willing and interested in your thoughts about that if you have any. So of course you can send it to me anytime. But other than that, I hope you have a really great week. You'll hear from me next week, and then we're getting quite close to winter break. All right, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.